Hi, my name is Joanna Whitney. I am an intuitive artist, a student of natural law, and an energy practitioner. And we are presently reading the Kybalion by the Three Initiates. And we're on page 77 in the Law of Rhythm. And I'm just going to backtrack to the last sentence of the paragraph I finished last time. It says, the master, however, carries this to a much higher degree of proficiency, and by the use of his will, capital W, will, he attains a degree of poise and mental firmness, almost impossible of belief on the part of those who allow themselves to be swung backward and forward by the mental pendulum of moods and feelings, which, if you're on social media, that happens all the time. And if you're like me, I don't want that happening. So I'm backing off of social media. But there really isn't that much community left. So it's time to seek community elsewhere, community with the higher power. From go within or go without. It's time to go within now. If you happen to be someone who's surrounded by superficial fake people that just like to make small talk and you can't be completely yourself with them, it's time to go within so that you can cultivate mental firmness like they're talking about here. And this week I actually discovered an author, John Creeder, and I'm going to put a link to an article that he posted about Taoist alchemy with, I think, 7 exercises in it, which will help anyone to begin to rise above the law of rhythm and find mental firmness. And he wrote a lot of really interesting books. For those of you who want more control than I offer here, because I say to pray, he offers other ways to do things that I think are equally valid for those people who want to do it differently. And he has a lot of really great information on his blog website. So I'm just going to include that one article, but I recommend that for learning to rise above the law of rhythm and the law of polarity. He has a lot of really fantastic information. Okay, the importance of this will be appreciated by any thinking person who realizes what creatures of moods, feelings, and emotion the majority of people are, and how little mastery of themselves they manifest. So going back to natural law for a second, mastery of the self, the inner monarchy, ruling the inner monarchy is what is required if we are to be free beings. Otherwise, we're going to have external rulers rule us. So that's what this is talking about, is mastery of moods, feelings, and emotion. If you will stop and consider a moment, you will realize how much these swings of rhythm have affected you in your life, how a period of enthusiasm has been invariably followed by an opposite feeling and mood of depression. Likewise, your moods and periods of courage have been succeeded by equal moods of fear. And so it has ever been with the majority of persons, tides of feeling ever risen and fallen with them, but they have never suspected the cause or reason of the mental phenomena. An understanding of the workings of this principle will give one the key to the mastery of these rhythmic swings of feeling, and will enable him to know himself better and to avoid being carried away by these inflows and outflows. The will is superior to the conscious manifestation of this principle. The will is capitalized here. So to me, that's supernatural will. Although the principle itself can never be destroyed, we may escape its effects, but the principle operates nevertheless. The pendulum ever swings, although we may escape being carried along with it. There are other features of the operation to this principle of rhythm, of which we wish to speak at this point. There comes into its operations that which is known as the law of compensation. One of the definitions or meanings of the word compensate is to counterbalance, which is the sense in which the Hermetists use the term. It is the law of compensation to which the Kybalion refers when it says, the measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. The law of compensation is that the swing in one direction determines the swing in the opposite direction, or to the opposite pole. The one balances or counterbalances the other. On the physical plane, we see many examples of this law. The pendulum of the clock swings a certain distance to the right, and then an equal distance to the left. The seasons balance each other in the same way. The tides follow the same law. And the same law is manifested in all the phenomena of rhythm. The pendulum, with a short swing in one direction, has but a short swing in the other, while the long swing to the right invariably means the long swing to the left. An object hurled upward to a certain height has an equal distance to traverse on its return. The force with which a projectile is sent upward a mile is reproduced when the projectile returns to the earth on its return journey. This law is constant on the physical plane, as reference to the standard authorities will show you. But the Hermetists carry it still further. They teach that a man's mental states are subject to the same law. The man who enjoys keenly is subject to keen suffering, while he who feels but little pain is capable of feeling but little joy. The pig suffers but little mentally and enjoys but little. He is compensated. And on the other hand, there are other animals who enjoy keenly, but whose nervous organisms and temperament cause them to suffer exquisite degrees of pain, and so it is with man. There are temperaments which permit of but low degrees of enjoyment and equally low degrees of suffering, while there are others which permit the most intense enjoyment, but also the most intense suffering. The rule is that the capacity for pain and pleasure in each individual are balanced. The law of compensation is in full operation here. But the Hermetists go still further in this matter. They teach that before one is able to enjoy a certain degree of pleasure, he must have swung as far proportionately toward the other pole of feeling. They hold, however, that the negative is precedent to the positive in this matter. That is to say that in experiencing a certain degree of pleasure, it does not follow that he will have to pay up for it with a corresponding degree of pain. On the contrary, the pleasure is the rhythmic swing, according to the law of compensation, for a degree of pain previously experienced, either in the present life or in the previous incarnation. This throws a new light on the problem of pain. The Hermetists regard the chain of lives as continuous and as forming as part of one life of the individual, so that in consequence the rhythmic swing is understood in this way, while it would be without meaning unless the truth of reincarnation is admitted. But the Hermetists claim that the master or advanced student is able to a great degree to escape the swing toward pain by the process of neutralization before mentioned, by rising on to the higher plane of the ego much of the experience that comes to those dwelling on the lower planes is avoided and escaped. The law of compensation plays an important part in the lives of men and women. It will be noticed that one generally pays the price of anything he possesses or lacks. If he has one thing, he lacks another. The balance is struck. No one can keep his penny and have the bit of cake at the same time. Everything has its pleasant and unpleasant sides. The things that one gains are always paid for by the things that one loses. The rich possess much that the poor lack, while the poor often possess things that are beyond the reach of the rich. The millionaire may have the inclination toward feasting and the wealth wherewith to secure all the dainties and luxuries of the table, while he lacks the appetite to enjoy the same. He envies the appetite and digestion of the laborer who lacks the wealth and inclinations of the millionaire, and who gets more pleasure from his plain food than the millionaire could obtain, even if his appetite were not jaded, nor his digestion ruined, for the wants, habits, and inclinations differ. And so it is through life. The law of compensation is ever in operation, striving to balance and counterbalance, and always succeeding in time, even though several lives may be required for the return swing of the pendulum of rhythm. Well, we're here right now, so that's what counts. So being here right now, I would say that the pendulum of rhythm is what a lot of what the dark occult Luciferians are using to toss everybody around. So I don't want to be tossed around personally. I want mental firmness. One thing I notice is staring at nature. It goes through its processes. And so I don't have to fall prey to what's going on with humanity. But in addition, humanity has become so immoral and dishonest that it's difficult a lot of times to deal with individuals and be disappointed continuously. So my response is to take on some of these exercises that are brought forward by John Creeder, and to create myself as an impenetrable pillar of strength, rooted deeply in the earth, with my pillar going up to the heavens, so that I'm connected and I'm a connector of the energies of the earth and the energies of the heavens during this interesting time that we're in, and to rise above the rhythm, the swing, back and forth, blue, red, all the crazy. I mean, this is that stupid election year, right? Which to me is just absolute political theater, which I don't pay attention to much, but it's almost impossible not to hear things. And I don't want to be tossed around by the waves up and down. So I am resorting to practicing mentalism through these processes that are ancient. And that's my recommendation to everyone, to rise above the law of rhythm. And in so doing, you go into that state of neutrality, which I discussed in the law of polarity chapter, where it's easy to be able to find your center and make decisions for yourself, the right decisions, and not be influenced by other people's agendas or fear of the future. There's a lot of predictions going on. There's always predictions that never come to pass. We call it FUD porn. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt pornography that makes people shop. Again, business as usual, and follow your intuition. Strengthen your intuition. Make that a project, how to strengthen your intuition. And there are ways to do that as well. Muscle testing, using muscle testing, is a way to strengthen the intuition. Using dowsing rods. I'll show you. Dowsing rods, 2 pieces of copper wire. You can get at Home Depot for like, a few dollars, bent into an L shape. And then you ask yes or no questions. Show me my yes. So for me, my yes is crossed. Show me my no. So all this is it's an amplifier of my intuition. And the more I use these, the stronger my intuition becomes. But when you use your intuition, the thing is that you have to follow it. You have to follow your hunches. Otherwise, they will back up. Like you won't get them. If you don't follow your hunches because you're afraid to follow them or whatever, then they just will cease. You have to follow your hunches in order to strengthen your intuition. But that's what I would say. Lead with intuition. Use whatever methods to strengthen your intuition that you like. I just happen to like dowsing rods, but I actually just have gut feelings. I use my gut. Yes or no. Not everyone can do that. People are different. They have different ways that they do it. This is just what works for me. But there's plenty of books out there that talk about how to strengthen your intuition. I would also recommend, if you follow natural law, that means be moral. Treat others the way that you would want to be treated. Keep your word. Show up on time. Show up where you say you're going to show up and do what you say you're going to do. Go the extra mile for your brothers and sisters. You will reap what you sow, and your intuition will be stronger. You'll be able to, you'll have signs, more signs. If you pay attention. But this is the way that the earth plane works. And so, yep, it's just a time now to strengthen our natural resources. Until next time.